Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel, Made with Love. My name is Heather, and today I'm going to do supper. I'm making lamb chops in my Instant Pot with gravy and mashed potatoes. So on the pot behind me, I've already got my potatoes peeled and cut, and I'm just starting to cook them. So then over here I've got, sorry about my hand, I'm just trying to move my camera down. So I got my Instant Pot and my lamb chops are here. They've been defrosting in the fridge for a few days, so I'm just going to go quickly and rinse these off. But when I do this, I love to make it where the liquid I use to cook my pork or my lamb chops or my pork chops, I can then use that liquid for my gravy. And I usually do like 2 cups of liquid. I'll do half a cup of like a red wine vinegar. This one is a raspberry flavored, and 1.5 cups or so of my chicken or beef broth. I don't have any left, but I do have a couple of the cubes, like the OXO cubes. So I've got 2 OXO cubes and 1.5 cups of boiling water. So I'm just going to break the OXO cubes and get this all stirred in. So that's the chicken broth. And then adding my 1/2 cup of my wine vinegar. So I get 2 cups of liquid. Another stir to make sure I got all the little cube parts all mixed in here. And then for this, I'm also going to grab my little trivet, which I forgot to grab out a minute ago. But I put this down so my lamb chops aren't touching the bottom of the pan. So now I'm just going to add my liquid. I always find it easier to add my liquid before I add my meat. And I'm just going to put this in. I'm just going to rinse off my lamb chops and dry them, and I'll be right back. So I got my lamb chops rinsed and dried off. So I just take a paper towel and I just kind of blot some of the excess liquid off of them. My puppy is here. She'd love to grab a piece of this. She can get some when it's cooked. And then my husband bought me this lemon and herb stuff from Clubhouse, and it's 550 grams, and he got it for me at a liquidation place in town for $2.99. So he asked me to try this on the lamb tonight, and if I think it tastes good, he'll go and buy another container of it. I had already opened it to test it to make sure it tasted good, and it seemed fine to me. It's a little more salt than the one I'm used to. The one I'm used to has more pepper in it, but I thought this would just be, a nice change. So I'm just gonna new lid, hard to open. Just gonna sprinkle some on this side of the lamb. Oops. Put the lamb in my Instant Pot, and I'm going to put it the sprinkled side down, so then I can sprinkle some more of the lemon and herbs on top. In here, angle each piece of meat so I can fit all 3 in here. And I'm only cooking 3 pieces. That's what will fit in here. Also, it's 1 for me, 1 for my husband, and 1 for our daughter. Just, trying not to use my fingers to do this, but I guess I have to. Just This piece wants to fall apart. Push that in. Just sprinkle a little bit more of the lemon and herbs on top. Doesn't want to come out. There we go. The holes get plugged and then they don't want to work. So now I'm going to put my lid on. Make sure it's in the center for the sealing. Out of the way so we can pull this out. So it's in the center part, so it's going to seal. And I'm going to press the meat and stew. And just got to wait for it to do its thing. There we go. So it's going to start building the pressure inside. Not quite sure how many minutes that will take. It just depends. Last time I used this, it took so much longer to seal than I thought it would. And the problem was the ring inside the lid. I didn't have one of them pushed, it was up a little bit, so it wasn't exactly where it was supposed to be. So it had to stop it and redo it. I didn't show myself doing that mistake, or was that or no, I had cooked something the other day and I didn't film myself doing it, so yay. But you know, if I ever make a mistake doing that, I'd like to show people, because if I make a mistake, somebody else might make the same mistake. But it has the sealing ring in the lid that you take out to wash, and I put it in, but I didn't get it sitting where it was supposed to be sitting, so it didn't seal. So I had to stop it and took the lid off. As soon as I took the lid off, I saw the problem. So I had to restart everything. But it takes about 35 minutes or so for this to cook. So I've got my potatoes cooking. So I will be back when the lamb is cooked. Okay, I'm just going to show this quickly. This container has a lot of the liquid from the lamb. I've got about 3 or 4 pieces of paper towel in here to blot up all this liquid. This is going to go straight in the garbage. My hands have, raw meat on them. Every container I've touched, that's why I set it by the sink. So my vinegar and the spice bottle, I'm gonna wash good because it is a meat, like a raw meat. I don't always show that, but yes, I did have to take the lid or foil thing off. So when I go to wash this, I'm not going to retouch the jar, but I will take this lid off and I'm going to wipe inside the ring too, because I know I touched it with raw meat. I don't need any negative comments on that. Same with this bottle, I touched it with raw meat. I'm going to be washing it off with hot soapy water. I always do that. I don't always show that, but I've worked in fast food and industrial kitchens, so I'm more aware of things than some people are. Okay, so when my meat is cooked, I will be back. Okay, so my instant pot is done. It beeped a few minutes ago. So I'm just going to use a wooden spoon and I'm just going to push it to the venting. And it looks like it's already vented. It was just it's been done, a few minutes ago. So venting's already done. So push it there, let all the steam come out. I've already done that. Just going to turn it off so I can pull this up. So there's the lamb chops. Going to grab a serving platter. I had one and then I was putting it away and I put it away. So there's my serving platter and my, I did bring them out. That's what I was right in the middle of doing. I'm just going to scoop out the lamb, and it's cooked good when you go to lift it up, and all I got is the whole bone. So all the lamb is cooked good. It's now in chunks. So I'm just going to kind of put the pieces all together. So that's one piece. look these up a little bit differently there. There's the second piece and the third piece. And with the third piece, I also grabbed the little trivet. That's okay, I'm just gonna, it's hot. So there's the 3 pieces of lamb. I'm just gonna set them over here. And so now I've got my liquid in the Instant Pot. Just take it like this, you can see, oops, I don't know if you can see, but I've got all the juices and everything from the lamb. I'm just gonna give this a quick stir down. I'm just gonna double check that there's no little bone pieces in there. I don't see any. That happened the other day. I forgot to do a little stir and check for bones, and I made the gravy, and then it was after the gravy was made and I was pouring it out into the serving bowl, I found a chunk of bone. Okay, so that is fine. And I realized I left my packs of gravy on the other side of my kitchen. So I've got my packs of gravy. I'm using the onion. So I'm just gonna pour them in here. And I realized I forgot to turn my thing back on. I'll do that in a second. So I love this that I can just make the meat in the juice and then use the juice and everything for the gravy. So I'm just gonna turn on to the soup broth. It doesn't matter what the timer says. I mean, you could do the soup broth, or I've seen some people do it using the saute, but I find this is okay. This one actually I find works a little bit better for the way I make my gravy. I'm just gonna take my whisk and just whisk this all together and just let this come back up to a boil. That's why I find the soup and broth actually works faster to getting it back up to the boil. And of course, while I'm doing this, I'm still looking for little bone fragments because the lamb has such small bones on some of the pieces of meat. And while that is doing that, I've got my potatoes here. And I just warmed up in the microwave some milk and the butter. I find that melting the butter and warming up the milk, it makes the potatoes mash better and more creamier. So I'm just gonna mash my potatoes. And get my gravy going. Continue mashing the potatoes and my gravy. I'm just going to give it another stir. It's going to take a few minutes. So I will be back in about 5 minutes when the gravy and the potatoes are done. Right, so I got my gravy done. My potatoes are mashed. I'm just going to give this another good quick stir. I'm going to turn this off. I'm going to unplug it. I'm going to pour my gravy into a bowl here. And yes, there is a chunk of bone at the bottom of the pan. I said I was looking for one. I didn't see any, but yes, I know as I dump it out, that's what I found last time too. When I dumped it out of the pot into the serving bowl, I found a piece of bone. I also found a piece of bone later on, I think the next day when I was lifting up some more gravy. So just be careful with that when you're cooking some of the meat with smaller bones, that yes, you might end up with a bone in your gravy. I mean, I could have always like strained. If you're worried about the bone being in there with little kids or somebody who has trouble seeing who might miss the bone, I would suggest straining out the liquid before making the gravy. But because I know that can happen, I'm actually looking for it. I think there's another little chunk of something. It's either going to be a chunk of onion or a chunk of bone. So I'm just going to scoop it out and test it and see. That's just a piece of onion. I touched it with my finger, so I'm not going to put it back in the bowl of gravy. So there's the gravy. Just gonna move the camera this way so you can see there's our supper for tonight. Got gravy, the lamb, and mashed potatoes. So that is our supper. Again, I just want to say thank you so much to everybody who's subscribing to my channels and watching my videos, and I'll see you in the next ones. Bye.